Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another installment of AeonEsq Live. This is my makeup show because I was supposed to come on here yesterday, but my body was feeling some other type of way, so I got some rest. This is my second live show that I'm doing today. I was on here about 2 hours ago where I did a recap of the latest episode of Chasing Atlanta season 7, episode 5. We did a very brief recap. So if you are watching this live, please, after I sign off today, if you need something else, some other form of entertainment, go watch that episode from earlier today. If you are new to this channel, make sure that you are subscribed to my AeonEsq 88 YouTube channel so that you are notified whenever I go live, whenever I drop new content. I haven't really been dropping like pre-recorded videos like that because I'm just trying to get in the live space, but I have been posting a lot of short form content. So that has been very exciting for me. But make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like this video. Make sure that you are sharing this video. This has been such a really fun process. My live that I did on Sunday about the DL Whisperer, I have the most views on that live. I'm really gagging how many people have watched it and engaged with that. So that makes me very excited. And it lets me know that I am on the right path. So thank you all for the support thus far. I don't envision this show today being longer than an hour. I only have 3 topics that I want to review or just go deeper, have deeper conversation about. So yeah, I don't foresee this being a long deep dive show like I've been doing with the past couple of shows. But just make sure that you support, make sure that you're getting the word out there. Also, this is an interactive show. I put the link up. If you have thoughts or you want to get in on a conversation, like for those who are watching this live, please feel free to click that StreamYard link. That will bring you to my studio and you can come on. You can be on camera if you want to, but if you do not want to be on camera, that is perfectly fine. But yes, come on, let's be in conversation with each other. Also, if you are watching this live on YouTube, please feel free to comment in the live chat and interact in the live chat. So let's get this thing started. The first thing that I want to discuss. Let me share my screen. Let's start here. All right. And let me see. Let me put this out. Make this one screen and make this another screen. All right, let's do this. So today my phone has been buzzing because it has been reported today from Aaron in the morning. Kansas sends letter to trans people demanding the immediate surrender of their driver's licenses. And the legislature did not include a grace period. So this was published this was published yesterday, but I just happened to see this morning. It was published yesterday on February 25th. Some subsequent organizations have been posting about it today. I just saw something on my LinkedIn from HRC posting about this. So let's read more through this article to just get some more in-depth information about this. Today, transgender people across Kansas are receiving letters from the Kansas Division of Vehicles stating that they must surrender their driver's licenses and that their current credentials will be considered invalid upon the law's publication in the Kansas Register on Thursday, which is today. Should any transgender person be caught driving without a valid license, they could face a Class B misdemeanor, carrying up to 6 months in jail and a $1,000 fine. Kansas already requires county jails to house inmates according to sex assigned at birth. The letter obtained by Aaron in the morning marks one of the most significant erosions of transgender civil rights in the United States to date. The letter, which has been reported to Aaron in the morning by a Kansas-based activist, states that under the House substitute for Senate Bill 244. Kansas issued driver's licenses and identification cards must now reflect the credential holder's sex at birth. It warns that upon the law's publication in the Kansas Register on Thursday, February 26, current credentials for affected individuals will no longer be valid. The legislature, the letter notes, did not include a grace period for updating credentials, and anyone operating the vehicle without a valid credential may be subject to additional penalties. Those whose gender marker does not match their sex assigned at birth are directed to surrender their current credential to the Division of Vehicles for reissuance. You can read the full letter here. Um, I have another page up that has the letter. We can go through that letter in full together. SB 4244, also known as the Bathroom Bouncy Bill, contained heavy identification document bans as well. The bill was rushed through the Kansas legislature in January using a gut and go procedure that bypassed nearly all public input on its key provisions. Governor Laura Kelly vetoed the bill on February 13th, calling it poorly drafted, but the legislature overrode her veto days later. In addition to the driver's license provisions, the law bans transgender people from using bathrooms, matching their gender identity in public buildings, and creates a bathroom bounty hunter system, allowing citizens to sue transgender people they encounter in restaurants for at least $1,000 in damages, including potentially in private restrooms. The bill takes effect immediately upon publication in the Kansas Register rather than the standard July 1st effective date, giving transgender Kansans just days between the override and the invalidation of their identity documents. The consequences for noncompliance could escalate quickly. Under Kansas law, driving without a valid license is a Class B misdemeanor, punishable by up to 6 months in jail and a $1,000 fine, though first-time offenders are more likely to face a citation and fine. A conviction, however, triggers an automatic 90-day license suspension. If a person drives during that suspension, they face a charge of driving on a suspended license, which carries a mandatory minimum of 5 days in jail. Kansas already requires county jails to house inmates by sex assigned at birth. The Kansas letters arrive amid an accelerating nationwide campaign to strip transgender people of accurate identification documents. The Trump administration has barred transgender Americans from retaining passports that reflect their gender identity, a policy the Supreme Court allowed to take effect in November. The Social Security Administration has similarly stopped permitting gender marker updates. At the state level, Florida, Texas, Indiana, and other states have moved to block gender marker changes on driver's licenses or birth certificates. But Kansas appears to be the first state to go further than simply blocking future changes. It is actively invalidating previously issued documents and demanding their surrender. As a result of this extreme anti-transgender law, the state of Kansas has seen its status deteriorate to a do not travel warning in the EITM trans risk map. Transgender people should exercise extreme caution when traveling through the state, and those already living there should take immediate steps to legally protect themselves in the face of laws that could strip their driving privileges, expose them to criminal penalties, and subject them to $1,000 bounties simply for using a restroom. For most transgender people who do not already live in Kansas, the risk is now too great to travel there at all. So this was a full in-depth article on Aeon in the morning, her platform, really detailing detailing the letters that trans folks in Kansas has received, what this law is, how it works, and just how it fits into the larger narrative and the larger it fits into the larger puzzle of demonizing trans folks and delegitimizing trans folks. So let's go to the actual letter. Let me get off of this. And then once I go through these things, once I get to the end, y'all know how I do when I do my deep dives. And this is kind of a mini deep dive. I will give my just my outtake and just my particular opinions on this. But y'all, this is really scary. This is really scary, and I will connect the dots once I get to the end. So it looks like Fallon Fox, notable trans woman, boxer, although I think she's retired from boxing right now, actually posted a copy of the letter. I wonder, is Fallon based in Kansas now? So it looks like these letters were sent out on, and let me see. It looks like these letters were sent out on February 23rd. And dear Kansas credential holder, House Substitute for Senate Bill 244 requires Kansas issue driver's license and identification cards to reflect the credential holder's sex at birth and directs the Division of Vehicles to comply with this new law. What does this mean for you? If you have received this notice, our records indicate that upon publication of this law in the Kansas Register on Thursday, February 26, 2026, which is today, your current Kansas credential will no longer be valid. Additionally, please note that the legislature did not include a grace period for updating credentials. This means that once the law is officially enacted, your current credential will be invalidated immediately, and you may be subject to additional penalties if you are operating a vehicle without a valid credential. What do you need to do? Pursuant to this new law, if the gender sex indication on the face of your current credential does not match your sex assigned at birth, you are directed to surrender your current credential to the Kansas Division of Vehicles. Upon surrendering the credential, you will be issued a new credential reflecting the gender identification consistent with statutory requirements. If you have any questions regarding procedures for obtaining a legally compliant credential, please contact the Kansas Division of Vehicles or visit your local driver licensing office. Can you appeal this notice? Yes, if you believe you have received this notice in error, you may appeal. Appeal rights are available under statute so and so. However, please be advised that the filing of an appeal will not preserve the validity of your current credential and associated driving authority. For additional information about visiting a DOV exam station, we apologize for the inconvenience. Girl, no, y'all don't care. Y'all are late. So let me see. So this is the letter that trans folks in Kansas who are from Kansas. How I'm imagining that this works is that this applies specifically to Kansas-born trans folks who still live in Kansas and had to get their gender marker change in Kansas. I highly suspect that this applies to that particular category of trans folks. Let me see if there is some that. So it looks like Translash Media has reported on this. Okay. Let's get to the part that you all are here for. My commentary. Even though today, what I suspect is this, and I don't know this to be for sure. I suspect that there is some lawsuit that is probably coming. Probably it might come at the end of the day. It might be filed at the end of the day. It might be filed tomorrow. It might be filed next week to stop the enactment of this particular law. Because for me, as somebody whose area of expertise is like in constitutional law, particularly constitutional violations as it pertains to like LGBT and gender identity, There's a lot of things about this law and just like the implementation of this law that just is screaming unconstitutional for me. Before we even get to like the merits of it just being unconstitutional, because it likely discriminates against insular minority of people, in this case, transgender and gender nonconforming people. Procedurally, I'm getting like a lot of red flags. Like, this was not rolled. The fact that there is no grace period for this law, that if the penalty is that somebody has the risk of being locked up and thrown in jail, I feel like at least if this law is going to pass and saying that there needs to be some type of grace period. And I would be curious to I would be curious, and I would lean on the side of that before we even get to the substantive arguments or the substantive claims that this law violates like equal protection or due process, possibly the First Amendment, by infringing on gender expression in someone. I think that there are some due process issues in regards to taking somebody's identity document away. So I'm anticipating that even though today is the 26th, this is the day that the license are supposed to be revoked and given back over. I'm pretty sure that there is some lawsuit in the work, at least to do some temporary preliminary injunction, so you could just really figure out what type of constitutional violations there are, who was harmed, how we can it's certain language in TROs that needs to be articulated and argued, but to not give people grace period for losing their license, it's all of my red flags as a attorney, and as an attorney that is primarily worked in this area of law, are just going off. The house is on fire. But y'all, this is serious. In a time, and I think of this like impacting somebody like myself. Like, to keep it very real, we well, not even insurance people, everybody relies on their driver's license for a lot. Like, having a driver's license is more about than just being able to operate a motor vehicle, or just being it is a way for you to be able to access life. So it's a way for you to be able to work. It's a way for you to be able to get medical benefits. It is a way for you to it's the key to access life. So when you are forcing people to carry incongruent identity documents or incongruent information, it one opens them up to harm, violence, discrimination, but also it shuts people out of systems where they're able to make money, where they're able to live, where they're able to find shelter, without people necessarily having to know that they are transgender. And especially in these times where a lot of folks, myself included, people who are between jobs, people who can't be in traditional jobs because we're experiencing a time where there's massive budget cuts and massive layoffs, and people are having to make ends meet, myself included. I think about all of the trans people that drive for Uber, the trans people that DoorDash, trans people that do Amazon Flex, and I'm pretty sure there are a lot of trans people in Kansas that rely on gig economies to be able to do their job, and to be able to do their job discreetly, where we don't have to be in a larger workforce, so we don't have to be in larger groups of people, that we're able to work solitaire in a solitaire way, where we're able to make our money, do our things, and go home. And this this ruins everything, because in effect, you would have to submit a whole new license, and then you would have to submit this license that opens yourself up to scrutiny in ways you don't want to be scrutinized on, or you don't need to be scrutinized when we're all just trying to make money to make sure that we are able to pay our bills and make sure that we're able to make ends meet. Especially, we're trying to make sure that we can survive so that we can live through this time. And a lot of us are just trying to make it into the pendulum swings to the other side, and it's cool to be trans and public. And so stripping people of their driver's license is going to have so many collateral consequences for the trans community. I'm thinking in particular Black trans people, because I know it got to be some Black trans people in Kansas. It has to be. But for trans people overall, but this has such collateral consequences when we think about how people need congruent identity documents, congruent driver's license in order to just live their lives and make money. And I have said it before. I don't think I've said it here yet because this is new. The purpose of these laws this is not even just limited to attacks against trans people. This is and this is my personal opinion, and I do think of myself as a thought leader, but the purpose of coming directly for trans people, coming after women, coming after Black people, coming after DEI is to and when we think about the amount of losses that we have taken over this past year, where people have lost their jobs, whole industries have shuttered, whole economies are forever changed. The whole point of this is to destabilize us, to have us in dire straits, and to make it easier for us to have to interact with the prison system and to interact with the police. Because when you don't have access to money, when you are poor, is more likely that you're going to interact with the criminal justice system, because we know how our country in particular criminalizes poverty. We just had that Supreme Court case that I think came out 2 years ago, where it made it permissible for cities and municipalities to arrest people simply for being homeless. So like so even though this is about trans people, this is connected to all of the losses that we have experienced over the past year, where we're taking away things from people that make it easier for them to live, make it easier for them to make money, make it easier for them to insulate themselves from everything that's coming on. We're taking these safeguards away and making it easier for them to be in poverty and to be poor, and to have to interact with the criminal justice system, so that when they do engage in labor, once they're incarcerated, that we can force them into that labor and not pay them at all, or just pay them in pennies. So, and I just think of all of the trans people that in particular need their driver's license to engage in like gig economies or just other economies where they can be out of the public eye but still work and make money, and kind of do so under the radar. And just having an ID that if you're living as a trans woman and it says male, that it adds a level of scrutiny that can open you up to whatever. And it's something that's hitting at home as somebody lives in Texas. And I wouldn't be surprised if Texas does the same thing. And I'm somebody right now that I'm doing everything I can to do to make money, but Lyft is an option, Uber is an option, like everything is an option at this point. And just knowing how something like this could just open me up to whatever. And I'm at a point where I'm tired of depending on the hope of people or the niceties of people to get by. I need laws in place to set a floor of what I can expect or what I need. And I don't want to have to depend of the kindness of strangers, especially in 2026. people want to make their money, people want to live their lives, people want to have access to housing, be able to go into a hospital and disclose their tea when they feel comfortable, it's comfortable and safe enough to disclose their tea and not be outed, especially in 2026 because it's not safe. So I'm going to continue to watch how this situation unfolds. Like I said, I don't think the freedom fighters in Kansas State are going to let this are going to take this sitting down. And now that I think about it, I know there are Black people in Kansas because specifically, so y'all know Kansas City, which is in Missouri. Kansas City is like on the very western edge of the state, and then part of the Kansas City metro area. There's a Kansas City, Missouri, and then on the other side of the state line is a Kansas City, Kansas. And what I know about metropolitan areas is that one, I know there's a large number of Black people in Kansas City, Missouri, but the expansion of that metro just doesn't stop in the state of Missouri. So there has to be some Black trans people who live in Kansas, who are born in Kansas, and part of the state of Kansas is in that metro area. So my heart really goes out to the folks out there dealing with this, navigating this, having to make hard decisions. Like, we are in a time where everybody is having to make hard decisions. We are all having to get creative about how we are planning to survive during this time. So all of these things are very, very serious. So my heart goes to them. I will be watching this. I do want to see how this unfolds. I do suspect that there will be some type of legal intervention in the form of a lawsuit being filed either on the merits or some type of temporary restraining order. But I'll definitely be watching this. I will be keeping up with this, and I'll definitely update my audience on this because I have been getting calls and questions in reference to this, particularly from other leaders who live in other red states who fear that something like this could happen in their state. So I will keep my eye on this. But yeah, let's reach out to folks. Let's check in on folks, see how folks are doing, and just let's do this in community with each other. So that's all that I have for the story. If you have any comments or reactions, please leave it. Please feel free to write in the live chat or leave a commentary on the video after this live ends and is posted to my page. I definitely welcome your commentary. But let's move on to the next story. The next thing that I want to talk about. We have an update. So on Sunday, I did a deep, in-depth live. Regarding the DL Whisperer, how we got here. Also, we had a little conversation about the DL Detective. I know that some of y'all forgot about him. I did not. And we had a really good like 2-hour conversation. And like I said, it's been my most watched live video to date on here. And I'm excited about that. But let's get to the update. Not new layout. Let's do this. Yes. Stop screen. Share screen. Okay, let's go here. So there is a new update regarding the DL Whisperer. So I believe a day or two after I did that live, we got a Moog shot and some more details regarding his case. I should have kept this up. Okay, here we go. Turn this off. So this is the DL Whisperer's mugshot. The arrest was this is some more information about his case. Okay, we don't want to see her. Let me see if I can refresh this. Yes. So the arrest was carried. Can y'all see this? Or let me put this over here. Thank y'all for rocking with me. I see some new viewers in here. Thank y'all for rocking with me. I definitely appreciate y'all. Girl, why is this demon trying to promote herself? We don't care. Okay, let me make this bigger. Okay. The arrest was carried out by Gilmer County Sheriff's Office. Details surrounding the circumstances that led to the warrant have not been fully disclosed. As a publication, it remains unclear whether Palmer has secured legal representation or when he is expected to appear before a judge. And I'm going to refresh again. I don't want to see her face. This breaking development comes on the heels of Gay Magazine's recent exclusive reporting that a Gilmer County judge granted a temporary protective order to media personality T.S. Madison against Palmer. In that coverage, court documents detail allegations. I'm going to refresh this again. That led the court to approve the temporary order pending a future hearing. So DL Whisperer, this is the mugshot. Apparently, he was not released on bond, so he's still sitting in county jail, and he's currently facing up to 10 years imprisonment. So the details has not come out as to whether he was arrested because of the warrant. I mean, not the warrant, because of the protective order that T.S. Madison and or Dominique Morgan put out against him, or if he was arrested because he violated the protective order after T.S. Madison and Dominique got their protective order. So that information, we really don't know much about that information. But as of now, DL Whisperer is still locked up in Gilmer County Jail and is awaiting another court hearing. You know, let me bring it back to me. This is really unfortunate because we did not have to be here. And when I say we did not have to be here, I'm putting the blame on him. He had many chances to stop his shenanigans. He had many chances to. He just had a lot of chances to de-escalate this, because as you saw from my video, and like he was really wilding. He was really wilding. He was really doing the most, and it's just unfortunate because as unhinged as he is, as unhinged as he's been, I don't want to see a young queer person incarcerated, whether it be jail or prison. We know prison and jail is not safe for any of us. It's just not. Prison and jail is not safe for any of us. That's not something that I wish on folks. However, you had multiple chances to stop your behavior and not engage in that behavior, and that's what you did. That's what you did. So it's unfortunate, but you engaged in actions that were violent towards Black trans women, towards women as a whole, and I highly suspect that you are not going to stop. So it took this form of intervention. It took this level of intervention for you to stop. I hope that while you have this time to be incarcerated, pre-trial or pre-whatever, that you really have time to think back and reflect on your choices and to think about the different choices that you could have made. And I think it's not remiss on us how you went on Tasha K's platform to spew hate, to say what you said. I'm pretty sure the things that you said in that Tasha K interview were used against you. You went on there to spread this hate. You probably thought you were in solidarity with Tasha K. And the moment that you got arrested, here this lady is capitalizing and monetizing off of your arrest. And I highly doubt that she is putting money on your books or she's going to sue you. So in your quest to save women, to save real women, how are they showing up to save you from what I'm sure that you are experiencing in county jail? Because, like I said, jail is not a fun experience for anybody. It's a very dehumanizing experience, and I'm sure it is for you as a black queer person. So you did all of this, and you colluded with all of these black cis women. How are they helping you now? How are they showing up for you now? Are they riding up to the jail? Are they calling up to the jail? Are they making sure you okay? Are they making sure you have money on your books? It's just I really hope that he's taking the time to think about his poor choices, because it was poor choices, poor decision making that got you to this point, especially if it's found out that you violated the protection order after it was placed against you. Like you have nobody but yourself to blame. But I look forward to seeing the development on the story. I want to prioritize the protection of my Black trans sisters. What I do like is seeing how so many of us are banding together and coming together to just not only demand our respect, but demand our care, and how we're supporting each other and lifting each other up. And also rejoicing in him being arrested because he thought it could have happened. But ultimately, I would love to see some changed behavior, because, like I said, it did not have to be this way. And there were so many times for him as a grown man to de-escalate the situation and just disengage, and apparently he did not. So unfortunately, you have to live through the consequences of your poor choices. But just wanted to give an update on that because I didn't get to discuss that. Now let's go to my next and final story that I wanted to discuss today. I see some new people that are watching the live. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you share. Shout out to my sister and my law school daughter, Tara Topics. Protect the dog. Yes, it's protect the dogs, because at the end of the day, and I said this in the longer live about D.O. Whisperer, for trans women and for cis women, we should not be looking to other people to protect us. We have to protect ourselves. And that's all it is to it. We should not be looking to any man to step up for us and defend our honor. We should be protecting ourselves, and that's how it should be. So, and relying on homophobia and relying on transphobia to protect you, it's not a great investment. It's not a great investment. But shout out to Tara Topics. Thank you for always supporting, sister. I love you down. I love you dearly. And I'm trying to get my coins together so I can support you and show up when you graduate from law school this spring. So shout out to her. Love her down. Now I want to go to my last story of the day. And I did like a little short TikTok about this yesterday, but I just really have to get this off my chest, because going into 2026 midterms and then going into 2028 2026 midterms and the 2028 presidential elections, and if I'm still here in Texas next year, because it's a possibility I may be leaving Texas, not on my own volition, but like for what I do, if I find something local here, I can't, what I could get paid here versus what I could get paid back on the coast, it just does not compare. And I've already made peace with the fact that I may have to move, even though I don't want to. I love Houston. I love it down here. I love my life down here. I love the community down here. I love how far my money is able to go. But the reality is I gotta get paid what I'm worth. So it may be a possibility I may not get to vote for the Texas governor again. Although I have less hope because, child, I don't know how Republicans can vote for Greg Abbott, but y'all have been doing it for a long time. But nevertheless, let's get to the last story. I want to go here. Let's watch a video real quick that pissed me off. Okay, y'all see this? Let's refresh.
And I was so ready to vote for Jasmine Crockett because I love her. But I voted for Tallarico because we need somebody who can win. So, yes, we need a fighter. And I was so ready to vote for Jasmine Crockett because I love her. But I voted for Tallarico because we need somebody who can win. So, yes, we need a fighter.
Okay. So this is so what I'm going to talk about. I'm somebody that I identify as a Democrat, but to be honest, I have struggled with my identity as a Democrat because I have become aware to how problematic the party is, and how the party is just as problematic as the Republican Party. And through these last couple of election cycles, and I think it culminated with people not voting for Kamala Harris, but it's just been a couple of other things before then. It's really made me aware kind of the system of the Democratic Party and the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, and just how they have no plan, they have no vision. How it's a lot of infighting going on to maintain the status quo. Status quo meaning let's put the least offensive white male candidate. Let's pour all of the money and resources to him, and let's not really support diverse candidates that are willing to try new things, that are willing to break away from systems that don't serve us. And I've become more aware of that. And I think I've become even more aware of that with the election of Mayor Mandani, and just seeing how the people wanted him, and just that the systems that be and the figureheads that be, they refuse to support him at every turn. And then you have voters like this, you have white people like this, just to be frank, that are so performative. And we don't know this lady, but to do all of this crying and emotional shit, you voted for who you wanted to vote for. You vote, and you're talking about you wanted somebody that could win. Well, people win when you vote for them. Like, people win when you vote for them. People win when you galvanize behind them. And I'm sorry, as a voter, I feel like I don't know anything about Tallarico. I don't, and maybe that's because I'm not watching the platforms that Tallarico goes on. But I, for me, I have not seen Tallarico get out there and engage folks, particularly diverse folks, in ways that I have seen Jasmine Crockett. And now, let's be clear, I already had awareness of who Jasmine Crockett was, but Jasmine has really been out there and been putting her foot on the ground. And it's just so tired, particularly on the Democratic Party side. And it's so triggering because I've seen examples of this in my own life, where you have people that are qualified, you have people that are passionate about doing the job, you have people that does the things that people say that they want in a representative. You want people to take risks, you want people to be outspoken, you want people to challenge the status quo. And then when you get the person and they just happen to come in the form of a black woman, it's like people do all of this mental gymnastics to discredit them and to vote for the safe person, the person that makes them feel safe. And I don't have faith that the Democratic Party as a whole is going to change, because there have been so many times for us to get it right, particularly when it comes to black women in leadership and black women in politics. And particularly, you have white voters like this who allow that racism to kick up in them, and their race wins over every time. Now I'm hopeful that Crockett wins this Senate race, and based on polling, and I should have got some slides such as let me see. Let me do my due diligence. Give me a second. Jasmine Crockett Tallarico latest polls. Okay. Let's do this because this white lady pissed me off. I'm sorry, but this white lady is indicative of white allies in the Democratic Party, or white progressive allies that think they are progressive, but then when it comes time to make the choice, they never want to take the risk. They always want to choose the more comfortable risk, and then wonder why we are still in the same place as a party, as a country. And it's that and the tears and all. It's just like, girl, you voted how you wanted to vote it, so we're either going to stand in it, or you're going to be quiet and you don't need to tell us who you voted for. But let's go to the polls, and this is from the Texas Tribune, because I like to lead with facts. But she pissed me off. And people that are like this piss me the fuck off. Okay, let's go to the Texas Tribune. All right. This is from yesterday, February 25th, 2026, and this was published at 9 a.m. Jasmine Crockett leads James Tallarico by double digits in the Senate Democratic primary, poll finds. Dallas U.S. Representative Jasmine Crockett has a double-digit lead over Austin State Representative James Tallarico in the final days of the Texas Senate Democratic primary, according to a new poll released Wednesday. In the survey, fielded from February 2nd to February 16th, Crockett garnered the support of 56% of voters, while Tallarico got 44%. For the Democratic primary, posters from the University of Texas's Texas Politics Project surveyed a sample of 369 voters, producing a margin of error of plus or negative 5.1 points. As in other polls, Crockett had a massive advantage with Black voters, drawing 87% support. The Dallas Congresswoman also led among seniors and voters without a college degree. That's important because there are way more people without a college degree who show up in these elections, so that's important. Tallarico had a narrow advantage with white voters, winning them by 6 percentage points, while Hispanic voters were a virtual toss-up, with Crockett leading by 4 points. The UT poll comes on the heels of a survey by the University of Houston's Hobby School of Public Affairs, fielded in late January, that found Crockett leading Tallarico by 8 percentage points. We're not going to read the Republican side because I don't care. Even though the Attorney General Ken Paxton, why the hell are you running for Senate? You don't need to run for Senate. Let's leave that there. Let me see. Okay, so it looks like that's all that they had to say about that race. But yeah, based off of the points, Jasmine Crockett is doing what the hell she needs to do. So I just don't understand. I don't understand why. Like, I don't understand what the big deal is when it comes to supporting somebody that's actually doing the work and that already has a presence in Washington D.C. Why are we acting like these Black women that are already in the space doing these things don't have the ability to take it to the next level? And actually, quiet as it's kept, U.S. House of Representatives, they really get to do more, because when it comes to them, they're the ones that get to vote on these big federal budgets in ways that the Senate does not. the Senate gets to do a lot of stuff, but the being at the U.S. House of Representative level, they get to do a lot of important things too, especially when it comes to these budgets. And now we see how political these federal budgets have been over the past year. So they do a lot. So like again, if you're not going to vote for her, like just stand in that. Don't give us all of these excuses. We don't care. But back to my critique of the Democratic Party and how they need to they need to get it together. Now I want to go. Okay, let me go here and see if I can find it. Now, what did I want on here's Kevin Page? Here's why Kevin Page. Oh, the video I did on TikTok yesterday in regards to Gavin Newsom and his bullshit, and I'm just not impressed. So Gavin Newsom has just been embarrassing himself the past year. It's very obvious that he's vying to be president in 2028. It's just very obvious that that's what he's trying to do. However, if this is the best that the Democratic National Convention can do, they're gonna have to go back to the drawing board. And he's done a lot. He's done a lot of things. The thing that I just can't get with, and I made concessions when I voted for Kamala in 2024. Moving forward, I'm not making no concessions. We're already at the pit, so I don't want the illusion of hope. I don't need the illusion of anything. We're either going to be all in and fight back or push back, or we might as well keep what we have, because I'm tired of Democrats. I'm tired of Republicans disguised as Democrats, and that's just what I feel when I get from Gavin Newsom. And like I said, I made concessions with the entire Democratic Party, the way that they threw trans people under the bus, how they had absolutely nothing to say in regards to attacks against trans people and trans youth. They were completely mute. We did what we had to do in 2024, but I'm not interested in doing that again. And like I said in my TikTok video, I would, if he is on the ticket, I will vote for everything. I will not be voting for him. I'm sorry. I'm only voting for people that see themselves in me, and I can see myself in them. And I don't see myself in this man, because he has demonstrated time and time again that he's more interested in building bonds with like Republicans and people who are anti everything. And I believe that if he were to be elected president, I honestly don't think much would change. I don't think much would change, and I'm tired of people playing in our faces. So let's go to the actual article, because I'm actually getting heated. And yeah, let's go to the article. So this was from 2 days ago. In a CNN interview promoting his memoir, California Governor Gavin Newsom said Democrats need to be more culturally normal, calling for less time on pronouns, identity politics, and more focus on tabletop issues. He's framing it as if Democrats are spending their time on focusing on LGBTQ issues, when in reality, party leaders have largely avoided them. LGBTQ issues didn't come up once in a 2024 debate or major interview with Biden or Harris, despite the Biden-Harris team being the most pro-LGBTQ administration in U.S. history. They were silent on these issues. Instead, Republicans poured money into anti-trans ads, while Democrats turned a blind eye, too scared to talk about queer and trans rights. This is also not the first time Newsom has told his party to sideline trans and non-binary people. In a podcast conversation with Charlie Kirk, he agreed it's deeply unfair for trans girls to compete in girls' sports, echoing right-wing talking points despite no evidence that trans kids have an athletic advantage. So thank you. Here's why, Kevin, for your reporting and having facts and receipts. And yeah, I'm not voting for him. I'm not voting for him. It's nothing that he could say to change my mind. He's shown me who he is, and he doesn't care. And what are you talking about? Democrats need to be more culturally normal. How can you be culturally normal in a country of diverse people? What is culturally normal? There are many cultures at play here in the United States of America. Why would you say that? Why would you say that? The Democratic Party is one of the most culturally, ethnically diverse parties here in the United States of America. We're the party of coalitions. Like what there are many cultures happening at the same. Like, why would you say that? Why would you say that? I'm not impressed. To me, it's very obvious what he is doing. And if we elect him and we put him in the office, we're going to get more of the same. And I'm just not impressed. I'm not impressed. I've been watching him for a while, and I'm not impressed. He wants to be cool with Republicans, and I understand and I appreciate that was the tactic for Democrats of the yesteryear. But y'all need to understand that that version of the Democrats and that version of the party or that version of strategy is dying off with a lot of these old leaders that are dying off. Like that, us reaching across the aisle has never done anything for people at the margins. Never. Because when you reach across the aisle, you always end up giving up way more than you get, and then we end up in the same situation 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, and the other side gets everything that they want to get. Meanwhile, we're still arguing to get back to point A. So yes, I'm not impressed. This man is saying it plain. For me, it's no mystery where he lies. And again, in 2024, y'all said nothing. Y'all did nothing. And I know actual trans people that tried to engage, not trans people that sit at the head of these organizations that are talking about pacificity over polarization or whatever that bullshit is. And they got chewed out for saying that we were being too aggressive and we weren't being nice enough. No, fuck you. We weren't allowing people to play in our face when they were saying nothing while we were getting attacked, and we're still getting attacked. But no, this type of leadership in the Democratic Party, this is not going to fly. And like I said, me as an individual, now I'm not encouraging other people not to vote. And I will vote down the ticket for other people because I know the president is not reflective of the other races, of the Senate races, and of the other races that are going on. But if he gets the nomination, sweetheart, I will not be voting for Gavin Newsom, and that's just how I feel. That's just how I feel because, like, at what point is it okay to not throw us under the bus? At what point is it okay for us to stand up for ourselves? So yeah, I'm not impressed, and I never believe in beating somebody down without giving the opportunity to pull them up. So we do have examples of what it means to have uh radical unapologetic leadership in the Democratic Party. And it's not to say that these people are not without flaws, because we still have to talk about APAC and the cancer that APAC has been in politics, period, but particularly in the Democratic Party. And I know there's been critiques of Jasmine Crockett over her ties to APAC. And like we continually have to have conversations about APAC and really with the hopes of pushing them out. And if they only want to support Republican candidates, so be it. But again, these people that I'm highlighting, they are not above critique. We are all human. We all have room to grow, and I never want to put out the idea that I'm saying we need to deify the people that are getting it right. But there are people that are being bold and who are willing to take, like, we need risk takers during this time, especially for the Democratic Party. We need people to take risks. We don't need people to play it safe because we don't have anything. We need people that are visionary, people that are inclusive, people that are not who are not scared to say the quiet part out loud. And to me, Gavin Newsom is not that. We have Jasmine Crockett, we have AOC, we have Mondami. We have so many Democrats at the local level. I'm thinking of Brandon Scott, the mayor of Baltimore. Like, we have so many people that we should be electing on the local level, but we should also be elevating them to these federal things. But because there are no pipelines in place on the Democratic side, we need to talk about that. There are no pipelines. There's no intentional investment. That's how people always fall through the cracks. Somebody else who inspires me and somebody else that I became aware of through my previous employment because it was in Seattle. Let me bring somebody who's actually not afraid to say what needs to be said. Let me pull this up because we need to get inspired, y'all. And I'm here to critique, but I'm also here to inspire the children that are watching me.
Yes, our trans kids across this country who are sick and tired of being bullied because it's not trans kids driving up your rent. It is the billionaires doing that. We are standing up for our trans kids across the country. And yes, our trans kids across this country who are sick and tired of being bullied because it's not trans kids driving up your rent. It is the billionaires doing that. We are standing up for our trans kids across the country.
Yeah, so we need people like Rep Jaya Paul in Seattle. Like, we need people that when they hear the attacks, that they're already in community with folks and that they're going to jump out and say what needs to be said and not try to pander to other centrist Democrats, to pander to these funders who are centrist and risk averse, or pander to these Republicans. Like, I'm tired. And I'm in an era of my life where you're gonna have to show me. You're gonna have to work for my vote. You're gonna have to work. And I need to see what you're promising, but also I'm judging what you're doing once you get into office. Because with a lot of these people, and also with me coming from like a policy in a policy position, people feel like once they get into office, all of the promises fall through. So we have to make sure promises fall through. Trans people are even holding Mondami's neck to the fire. Let me go back to Aaron in the morning. Aaron in the morning, and as great as Mondami is, and as much as he inspired the people of New York, are you holding the promises that you wanted to keep, specifically to trans folks? Like, this is not a one time. This is not a one time transactional relationship. It's a repeated relationship where we are constantly checking in with each other. We're constantly assessing things. And if you fall below what you say we're going to do, there needs to be a pathway for conversation. There needs to be a pathway for accountability. And these people that are interested and protected in the status quo, they're only interested in a one-time transactional relationship to get your vote. And then once they're in office, there is no pathway to have a meaningful conversation with them. Or if you do have a conversation, they're just going to listen to all your complaints and they're not going to do nothing. Why? Because they're beholden to these billionaires and these PACs that are funding their next election campaign. So let's go back to Aaron in the morning to see how people are, specifically trans people in New York, are holding Mondami and his administration accountable to the promises that he made to specifically the trans New Yorkers when he ran for mayor of New York. So let's pull that up and then we can end this conversation here. Make sure to share, make sure to like. I appreciate y'all so much for being a part of this conversation. Let me know if you can see the screen. Yes, let me make this bigger. Okay. So back to Aaron in the morning, and this was actually published today. All right. Trans New Yorkers deserve better than Mondami's inaction on trans youth care closures. The mayor has made immediate steps he can take to ensure community continuity of care for trans youth. Excuse me. So, in recent months, hospitals across the country have shuttered gender affirming care programs out of fear of the Trump administration, often in direct conflict with state law. Some officials have pushed back. In California, Attorney General Rob Bonta sued Rady's Children's Hospital for capitulating to federal threats, resulting in care being restored there. Others, like New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani, campaign on sweeping promises to protect transgender residents when precisely this kind of pressure campaign arrived. Yet, last week, NYU Langone ended its gender-affirming care program for transgender youth. Days later, Mount Sinai followed. Despite urgent calls from transgender patients, advocates, and journalists, including from Aaron in the morning, the mayor has remained largely silent, taking no immediate public steps to ensure continuity of care or fulfill the commitments he made on the campaign trail. The closures have left transgender families in the New York City area scrambling. NYU Langone's Transgender Youth Health Program was one of the region's most prominent centers for youth gender affirming care, and its sudden shutdown displaced families mid-treatment. Days later, parents reported that Mount Sinai had gone even further, cutting off not just new patients, but existing ones as well. Both hospitals acted in anticipation of proposed federal rules from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services that would strip Medicare and Medicaid funding from hospitals providing gender-affirming care to minors, as well as Department of Justice subpoenas targeting providers. But those rules have not been finalized. The public comment period closed on February 17th, and final rules are not expected until spring at the earliest. Even once final, the rules do not override state law, as they do not make gender-affirming care illegal to provide. They instead threaten to remove funding from programs that provide it. Gender-affirming care for minors remains legal and protected in New York under both state and city law. And yet, these hospitals have ended care anyway, in direct violation of those laws and the civil rights of transgender people in New York. Mayor Mamdani is not powerless to step in, nor is State Attorney General Letitia James. Sorry, y'all. Sorry, y'all. Nor is State Attorney General Letitia James. Both have significant tools at their disposal. Mamdani has direct authority over New York City Health and Hospitals, the largest public municipal healthcare system in the country, and can direct it to absorb displaced patients affected immediately. His administration controls the NYC Commission on Human Rights, which can levy fines up to $250,000 per violation against hospitals that discriminate on the basis of gender identity. He campaigned on a $65 million investment in gender-affirming care and pledged to coordinate with James and district attorneys to investigate non-compliant hospitals and hold public hearings. James, meanwhile, has the authority to investigate hospitals under state civil rights law, as she warned providers she would do. Yet neither has taken any of these steps. Aaron in the morning has sent multiple requests for comment to the mayor's office, NYC Health and Hospitals, and the Commission on Human Rights. The mayor's office has not responded. Health and H&H has not responded, and the commission has declined to comment on specific cases, redirecting inquiries back to the mayor. Something has to give. Transgender people worked hard to get Mamdani elected, and the mayor ran heavily on promises to the community. Now that he is in power, he has a real chance to publicly commit to defending transgender people, holding hospitals accountable, and directly provide care through the H&H system in the meantime. It is inexplicable that all transgender New Yorkers have received in the last week are platitudes about how wrong it is that these hospital systems ended their care programs, when the politicians expressing those platitudes have the tools to fix the problem and help the trans youth who are most affected. Even a simple public message that H&H will begin absorbing displaced trans youth patients, or that hospitals are running afoul of civil rights law and the mayor will use the tools at his disposal to hold them accountable, or a reaffirmation of his pledge to devote city resources to opening new clinics will go a long way. In the coming days, protests are expected over the hospital's decisions to end their transgender care programs, organized in part by prominent local LGBTQ plus organizations, including Lambda Independent Democrats, PFLAG New York City, and the Jim Owls Liberal Democratic Club. Those protests are important, and I am glad to see them happening, but they must not only be directed at the hospitals. I hope that the organizers also direct their message to those who are in power and have the capability to help transgender people in the region. The mayor, the attorney general, and the city agencies that have the tools and authority to act, but have so far chosen not to. Aaron in the Morning has submitted numerous requests for comment to the mayor's office and NYC agencies over the course of last week. We have asked whether the H&H system will act to absorb displaced transgender youth patients. We have asked whether the city will invest in expanding gender-affirming care. We have asked whether the administration will pursue penalties against hospitals that have dropped care in violation of city law. We have asked directly about the mayor's silence and whether there are any plans, even ones the administration cannot yet detail publicly, to restore care. The mayor's office has repeatedly ignored these requests. H&H has repeatedly ignored these requests. And the NYC Commission on Human Rights, which filed its own complaints against NYU Langone and Mount Sinai nearly a year ago, and from which no enforcement has emerged, has said only that it cannot confirm or deny the existence of pending cases. Transgender New Yorkers gave Mondami their votes, their trust, and their time. They deserve more than silence. So again, that was Erin in the Morning. That was an article directly from her page. And yeah, this is not to deify people that are getting it right, but we need you to say something. And when we elect you, this is not a one-time transactional relationship. This is a cyclical relationship. And if you don't do the things that you say that you're going to do, then you're gonna have to tell us what's going on, or we don't need to. You can't rely on our support again. So yeah, we need Democratic National Convention. I need y'all to get it together, and also it has to be other less problem. If it has to be a white man, I'm pretty sure there are other less problematic white men that we can get to the finish line. I mean, we have Beto O'Rourke down here. I mean, not O'Rourke. What's his last name? O'Rourke or Beto here in El Paso, Texas. I mean, come on. But Gavin Newsom, it's just not going to work for me, dog. It's not. But that brings us to the end of our show today. I hope that you liked our conversation and our dialogue. I may come here tomorrow. I just haven't seen enough stories that I want to talk about. I may come here tomorrow. But if you don't see me tomorrow, then I'll likely be here. I will definitely be back for a live show on Monday. I'm sure there will be new things that'll drop till then. If y'all have anything that y'all want me to discuss or to do a deep dive on, please reach out to me on any of my socials. I am AeonEsq on Instagram, or message me directly on YouTube. If you have anything that you want me to do deep dives on or do further discussions on, just let me know and maybe we could talk about it. Before I close, I'm going to put the link. If anybody wants to come up and just give reactions to any of the 3 stories that I talked about today, you can either come on camera or be completely audio. I will open up the lines for another 5 minutes. So if you want to come up now is your time to shine. Before I get up off of here, I'm going to go see Scream 7 tonight. So I know we're supposed to be protesting, but child, I've been watching that movie since I was a child, and they did the 2 girls wrong, but the movie got made, and I'm going to go see it, and it's no shade. So I hope y'all not mad at me. Scream 7, but let me put the music on. Okay, we'll be here for another 5 minutes. If you want to come on, if you have any reactions, anything you want to say, please feel free to come up to the stage and give your reaction. Well, it looks like nobody took the bait, which is fine. I know it's rush hour, so people might be watching this on their commutes home from work. That's completely fine. But I am going to end today's live show here. Again, you are watching another installment of AeonEsq Live. This is my YouTube show. I thank you so much for sharing space with me. I will be back here soon. If I do not see you on Friday, I hope everybody has a lovely and prosperous weekend, and I will see you back next week. Please support me by subscribing to my channel, liking the video, and sharing it with your group of people. I will see y'all soon. Bye.